631 Perkins Avenue. I call this meeting to order and welcome you all. I'm going to start with the roll call attendance. Co-Chair Adams.
Present.
Commissioner Chura.
Present.
Commissioner Coleman.
Present.
Commissioner Kincaid.
Present.
Commissioner Mason.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Present.
Commissioner Marrero Benito. Present. Commissioner Nelson has not arrived yet. Commissioner Adriana Rodriguez has not arrived yet. Commissioner Emo Umason.
Here.
Commissioner Pete Van Leer.
Here.
And I am present. Next, we're going to move for the adoption of the agenda.
I want to put forth a motion to introduce our guests to go forth. Sergeant Matt Brown.
Okay.
CDP.
Where would you like to put that on the agenda?
I guess before the executive director's report, if that's okay, so that way he can get back to his job.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt the agenda with adding that we introduce Officer Matt Brown to make a presentation before the executive director report. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, I'll call this vote. Co-Chair Adams?
Aye.
Commissioner Chura?
Aye.
Commissioner Coleman?
Aye.
Commissioner Kincaid?
Aye.
Commissioner Mason?
Aye.
Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Commissioner Marrero Benito?
Aye.
Commissioner Umason?
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer?
Aye.
And I vote yes.
Madam Co-Chair, one more other thing. I have motions to pass today. Do I have to put them on this? I'm sorry? Okay, so I don't have to put them on.
Okay. So we're going to go next to our meeting decorum. This meeting of the Cleveland Community Police Commission is a lawful meeting. Under Section 605.04 of the Codified Ordinance, no person with purpose to prevent, disrupt a lawful meeting shall do any act which obstructs or interferes with the due conduct of such meeting. Members of the public are invited to speak in accordance with the public comment rules. Disruptions, including but not limited to speaking out of turn and or making loud utterances that interferes with the due conduct of this lawful meeting, may constitute a misdemeanor and a violation of Section 605.04. If this meeting is disrupted, I will call for a recess and the room will be cleared. Persons who violate the city ordinance and commit misdemeanors may be subject to prosecution. When this body is able to return from recess, then in compliance with the Ohio Open Meetings Act and Section 101.021 of the Codified Ordinance, the meeting will be open to the public.
I wanted to just make the statement that the minutes for the third and received also reviewed. That's the next meeting.
You say what?
So basically the minutes for February through May we have given to the review.
Okay, so as of approval for the minutes for February through May are still under review, so we will approve those in our next meeting. Next is our public comment section. First person is Rob Loftus. Hi.
Thank you. My name, is this on?
I don't think so.
How do I turn it?
Microphone check. Okay. Thank you. Hi, my name is Rob Loftus. I am an organizer with Showing Up for Racial Justice Northeast Ohio. And I live in Bay Village, so I don't live in the city, but other members of our organization live in the city. I just had a few quick points I want to make. I won't take up too much of your time. First of all, we at Surge Neo support hiring Richard Jackson as a consultant. His experience with Black Shield would be invaluable to the committee. Second, and this relates to the subcommittee on surveillance that I've also been participating in, I think that the city should not contract with any surveillance vendors that keep all the data, right? So we know that Flock Safety just keeps all of the data. I think a nice, clear rule that could be applied across the board is that the city owns the data, the company does not have access to it. Finally, Also, I feel like we know that the Cleveland Police Commission has really accomplished its purpose as the initial charter amendment envisioned it when it is able to discipline bad police officers. I mean, I think that's the goal that we should be going towards. I think there's agreement on that. And I also just want to say that I hope everyone can refrain from personal attacks this evening. I think that the way we get to the goal of being able to discipline police officers is by not attacking each other. Thank you.
Next is Brenda Bickerstaff.
Good evening, everyone. I want you to remember Ohio Revised Code 2917.12. That's a law in the state of Ohio when someone disrupts the meeting. Remember that code. You need to use it. Serena Zayag, I sent the letter. I would like them to remove you as co-chair. You have not fulfilled your duty. You're supposed to be a person that represents impacted families like myself, and you have not done that. Things that you're doing in this commission, which you know better, you're trying to block it from moving forward. Richard Jackson helped us write issue 24. Richard Jackson backed us every time we went down to city council to deal with the police. Richard Jackson stopped us from getting arrested when the police didn't like what we were saying. What better person to have is a person that was a writer, that was a former police officer, who knows the GPOs and the policies and procedures. And I keep telling you guys, I'm going to say this over and over, the voters have given you power, and you're not using your power. A disruption should not have went on for 24 months at the point that Roland Martinez had to go to the federal judge yesterday. You guys are sitting there looking, but you know I'm telling the truth. And I would hope you would take heed to what I said about removing Serena from this position. I sent you an email on June 1st. We'll have to go through all the details because you've read it. And you know what I've said and you know where I stand. This commission needs to listen to cases. You do not need to try to run the office. That's not what the charter says. The charter says you get an executive director. We have that now. We have an assistant executive director. We're getting staff in here. Let them do that. You focus on the discipline. And I'm going to say this again. Read the charter, Mr. Anderson, and read the consent decree. If you want to know what the real deal is, read those two things and cite them. Maya Kincaid, read them. So you know for yourself, and you don't have to listen to nobody else. So that's all I have to say.
Next is Jennifer Blankney.
Sorry for my scribbles. Jennifer Blakeney, just. Yes, I'm a Cleveland resident and a member of Surge Northeast Ohio. And I am also here to ask you, please, to use the hire Sergeant Jackson, Richard Jackson, for consultant. He's been intimately involved in this from the inception, has the insight of not only the CPC and what the voters of Cleveland have asked for from this commission. And I also stand behind asking you all to take on your authority that is written into the legislation, and that Sergeant Jackson would knows is in there and would help support you in doing what we residents have asked for. I also, yes, so I ask you to take your power and use the gifts of Sergeant Jackson as a consultant, and I also want to recommend that public comment also remains kind and thoughtful so that the place feels comfortable for all of us citizens as well as you citizens who are on the commission. So thank you.
Mariah Crenshaw.
Good evening, everyone. So it's been a while since I've been here, and it's a lot of new faces, and I'm sure some of you know me and some of you do not know me, but I am Mariah Crenshaw. I am the lead researcher and analyst for the organization Chasing Justice. And what we do is we collect public records, and we create, from the data, we create reports. And most of it has led to 24 indictments out of the East Cleveland Police Department thus far. We are participating. There will be more. We are not looking to prosecute police. Okay, we really want to support law enforcement. And so anyone who might be thinking, oh my God, she's anti-law enforcement. No, I'm not. There was a time when I was like, F the police, but I am not that anymore because I've had an opportunity to become very intimate with a lot of chiefs of police across the state of Ohio. And with that, I've grown a lot in my understanding and knowledge that we are not right with police. We, the community, the culture, the society. We are not training our officers, and then we have an expectation to put them into our communities without the proper training, without the mandated training by law. And then we expect them not to be afraid for their lives. They're afraid because they're not properly trained. Now, that's not all on the city. A lot of this falls on the state of Ohio. In the last 5 years, we have been successful. Chasing Justice has been successful at getting law enforcement laws changed, statutes changed regarding the requirements for training. Don't be mad at me back there. But what we don't have is enforcement. And one thing that I'm very concerned about, especially with the commission, is I understand there's been a whole lot of chaos going on, and I'm here to say that's going to stop. As long as you see my face, it's not going to happen anymore. I could just tell you that right now. I've got some things on the desk, on the plot that I'm doing right now. So all this nonsense that keeps coming in here, it's going to stop because you have work to do, we have work to do, and I'm not going to accept watching from afar anymore the nonsense that continues to come into this commission and block you from doing what needs to be done. Now, when you see me, I come to the table to bring resolutions. I'm not here to attack you personally and tell you I don't like you and I want you gone. That's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is that we work together as a community. We work together as a commission. We put our best foot forward. Now, a few weeks ago, I went to the safety committee and I provided them with proposed legislation because I don't think it's fair all of this is being put on the commission to fix and on the monitoring team to fix when the safety committee has the authority by law to create legislation to end the consent decree. And so what I did was, and Shelly, if you can come forward for me, sweetheart, because I can't walk very well. This is the first one I'm going to give you. I did give proposed legislation to end some of these issues. No, I'm going to have you, if you will, be so kind, make copies for everyone, scan it, email it to them. I would like to meet with the commission during the meetings. I'm going to hand you this as well in just a moment.
Time.
Can I get just one more minute? Just one more minute? Does anybody object? Okay. So I'm going to give this to Shelley, and then hopefully I can see some of you all in rules and accountability. But these are resolutions to the problem
There is
that
a
you're
second
having.
public comment.
Okay,
Yeah.
but these are resolutions, and hopefully, Shirley, you can make copies for everybody. Thank you. And I appreciate you. Thank you.
Dale Snyder.
Hello, how y'all doing? My name is Dale Snyder. I'm here with Roll Go Inc. Again, that is an acronym for Recidivism on the Decline. Oh, it's not? Pick it up. Is that better? Is that better? Okay, start again. My name is Dale Snyder. I'm with Roll Go Inc. ROLD is an acronym for Recidivism on the Decline. What I do is I train brothers and sisters, returning citizens, to get their Class B CDL. I'm come speaking from my perspective as a grantee and over this long process of 3 years. Is that better? Long process of 3 years. What I want to say is I want to salute the commission for finally getting the wheels rolling. I don't know all the details of what the grant holdup was, but it still, again, was a 3-year process. I personally like to thank Shelley. I understand that part of the holdup was we didn't have a director. She came in the last 6 months that I've been working with her. She has been working tremendously hard to get that done, and I realize that there are several grantees that are now going to get something that they were trying to get for the last 2.5 to 3 years. So thank you, Commission. Thank you, Shelley.
Daryl Houston?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Daryl Houston, and I just would like to add some things to what I've been observing for the last 24 months. When I first came in, there was a few hiccups, and John and Serena, the co-chairs, were very open with what they thought was going on. And as I've been here 24 months, and I began to understand the true process of sitting here, there's a lack of accountability by both co-chairs, in my opinion. And what I mean by that, I don't mean that in a negative way. If you two are co-chairs and you're responsible for certain things like work ethics, attendance, progress, filing reports, writing letters, when you don't have team members actually doing what they're getting paid to do, I do realize it's not a lot of money, but most of this should be coming from the heart and volunteer. And, you know, everybody took an oath that they were going to put in 10 hours, and we do know that you guys go over 10 hours, and we appreciate that. I really do. But what I'm concerned about is total leadership, okay? Accountability. It shouldn't have took 12 months for me to put a letter together and complain about one of the members not doing anything whatsoever for 12 months straight and it not go report it. I do remember both of the co-chairs telling me all the things they did not have in place. And as soon as they got these things in place, you guys kind of confused me and you did a about-face turn. And I don't understand that, okay? Because you were advocating to me personally about everything that was going on, and I tried to do the best that I could with speaking out about things that we need to have corrected, right? But when we get an executive director in and she turns the ball around in a short period of time, and we start to get kickback from our two co-chairs, I'm questioning why. When we get an assistant director that comes in and he's doing his job, I'm questioning why. And Richard Jackson is the biggest question of it all by the two co-chairs. I'm questioning these things, right? And I'm big on accountability, as one of your colleagues always state, right? She's a very sweet lady, Miss Kincaid, very sweet. She put one of the best programs that I've ever seen done by this commission together, right? But she only did one in 12 months. So I'm questioning that too, right? We need accountability from everybody. I've given all you guys my personal numbers. I have all the contacts in the community that you're looking for, okay?
Time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Terry Wong?
Good evening. I just want to address a few of the things that people have said. The public should know that the people that are speaking from the audience today are either people who have written a structurally flawed Charter 115.5, getting money, and have never done any work when I was a commissioner. As for Mr. Richard Jackson, he has lied about his disciplinary record in order to attain a commission position. When that was not successful, you are now planning to pay someone that has been repeatedly dishonest a consultant fee, and I think that would be a mistake. I do appreciate some of the things that he has done. He's actually stood up for things that I believe in, but I don't think this commission can succeed if you continue with the personal favors and the corruption. The other thing I wanted to mention is to Ms. Coleman. There was a meeting for the Policy Committee, And it was said in that meeting that you guys are not able to do discipline because you need the collective bargaining agreement, the police union contract, to be changed. That is not true, because Charter 115.5 gives you final discipline authority, which could be easily interpreted to mean that you would supersede a union contract, you would supersede arbitration. So I don't know why. I think even people that disagree with me on other things, I don't know why you're not hearing cases. Well, actually, I do know why, is because you are working with the establishment, police unions, whoever, will give you any power to stop the fulfillment of issue 24. Personally, getting rid of some of you, whatever, it will never work, because appointment authority was given to mayor and city council, which makes the commission inherently not independent. I also do want to know for the record that there are people that are saying openly xenophobic, racist things about me. We're at a time of ICE. Some of you are on the commission. It is not reasonable for people that have that level of bias to serve as commissioners, especially when the charter mandates somebody that has immigrant status and immigrant experience. None of you do. And I just also want to know that Ms. Mariah Crenshaw has touched me twice without my permission, and the last time she has said that she will end me twice. She has been promoting defamatory material about me. You guys are benefiting from that. None of this will work. And I want you to know, people's lives are actually on the line. Black lives, white lives, immigrant lives, whatever. And you guys have to stand up for the community, and if not, there needs to be a charter amendment to remove the ability of the mayor and city council to affect this commission. And I don't think anybody should affect this commission or influence the commission except for the evidence. It is only fair to officers and to people in the community. I understand the activists are very passionate about what happened here, but they cannot also influence this commission in any way. So instead of trying to blame me for
Thank you very
disruptions
much.
in meetings, please do your job. Thank you.
Sabrina Otis.
I'm going to be really brief. Before the summer ends, is there any way that this group and the DPC co-chairs could start doing some walk-arounds the city to promote both DPCs and CPCs? That's what I would like. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we're going to move forward, and I'll hand things over to Commissioner Miller.
All right, everyone, we do have 3 motions on the table today for the training committee. I know, I'm just giving a brief while I'm doing it. We're going to get into that later, but one of the motions is basically going to be introduced, or if we have any questions, by Sergeant Matt Brown, who is part of the CDP, and he's going to come tell us about, or see if we have any questions on recognizing and responding effectively to traumatized youth. So this training is focused on helping officers recognize the signs and effects of trauma in children and adolescents, understand trauma-informed approaches, improve communication with youth, and promote responses to reduce harm while supporting positive outcomes during police interactions. So the floor is yours. Thank you for coming today, Sergeant Matt Brown.
See if I do this right here. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Thank you for having me. I'm Sergeant Matt Brown. Can I just hold this?
Yes.
Okay, Sergeant Matt Brown with the Cleveland Division of Police. I'm the officer in charge of our CIT unit. So what that means is I help facilitate recruitment and implementation of our training with crisis intervention, and I also oversee our co-responder teams. Currently, we have 7 teams in the city. We would like to have 10, ideally. So that is where a specialized CIT officer is teamed up with a crisis clinician, and they respond to crisis calls. So we are in every district in the city. We operate from 7 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. This is a really important role for me, and it really started in 2010. And I've been doing it ever since. The Specialized CIT program. We are at approximately 200 specialized CIT officers in the city. That is a number that we're extremely proud of because this is a voluntary program. So what I do is I read reports, I review video, and I try to find the best candidates. I need people with the passion, the empathy, and the patience to do the job. So we don't just pick anyone to do it. I actively recruit, and I find people. So I find the officers in our division that have a passion to do this. And we're really proud of our numbers, we're proud of our statistics that we have with crisis intervention. So I'm here to make myself available regarding the youth trauma training that we're doing for our specialized CIT officers. That is a 4-hour training that we put on annually. The important part of this youth trauma training, we are in an incredible and amazing position to do something for the youth in our community, even if it's like 10 or 15 minutes. 10 or 15 minutes as a police officer interacting with a youth in crisis, we have an amazing opportunity to leave a lasting impact, a positive one. And this training is going to get us there. This training is another tool that we can use to identify the trauma triggers that we see out there that we may, someone who doesn't have the training or hasn't been exposed to, you know, any type of advanced training such as this may not be able to identify. So do you change up your communication tactics because you're able to identify that? Yes. Do you maybe change up the de-escalation that you're using because you took this training and you're able to see, hey, this isn't just your run-of-the-mill non-compliance, okay? This is a trauma trigger. This is fight, flight, or freeze, so that we respond differently. This is an important training. I fully back it, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk to you for a second. So if anyone has any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer, or at least try to. Yes.
Excuse me, before y'all start, can y'all please start if y'all have any questions with the training that you were asked to review? Because you were sent it about 2 weeks ago. That's basically why you're here. So if y'all have any questions, because we're going to have to vote on that later.
So we'll go to Commissioner Kincaid.
Is there anything that specifically would identify a CIT officer to a civilian?
Absolutely. Our specialized CIT officers can be identified with their SCIT pin that they wear on their uniform. Also, we do encourage the public that if you're calling about a mental health crisis for you or a family member, you can specifically request a CIT officer or a specialized CIT officer or even a co-responder team. If our co-responder team is working, then we can, in conjunction with the patrol section, say they don't have a specialized CIT officer, then we could go out with basic patrol and assist, and that's having a clinician on scene as well. So that's the best identification. You can request it through dispatch.
I have one follow-up question. I heard you mention the time frame, 7 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. I also heard you mention that this program is voluntary for the officers that want to be a part of it. Is that correct?
So there's a difference between the specialized CIT officer and the co-responder team. So the co-responder team, I'll start with that. The co-responder team is a specialized CIT officer that is assigned to the co-responder team unit. So they're only going to CIT calls. Their specialized CIT officer, they took the 40-hour training voluntarily, but then they were assigned to the unit. So they have a clinician partner that they work with every day. And all they do, they respond to CIT calls and follow up on CITs that have already happened. When I say a specialized CIT officer generally, would be an officer in the patrol section in 2nd District that answers all calls throughout the city. However, they are specialized CIT. So you can request a specialized CIT officer. They'll still handle GTMV reports, burglary reports, and just anything, you know, kind of standard.
But as a caveat, they have that additional training?
Yes, they have the specialized CIT training, and then dispatch can then find their specialized CIT training officers and then send one of them to your call.
And then my final question is that is there, because I'm thinking about the time frame, is there a consideration to extend that time frame later into the evening, especially in the summer months?
Absolutely, and just so there's no confusion, the specialized CIT officers, they work night shift and everything, but in terms of the co-responder team, that is the time frame that we're working with. And that was established in 2020, kind of that time frame, and that's based off of data that we compiled of how often, what times are we receiving the most CITs. So night shift, in the middle of the night, I would argue that the CITs that we receive at 2:30 in the morning or 3 in the morning, even though they're few and far between, they're often the most difficult for us to deal with and work through. And on top of that, just lack of resources in general for night shift. In my opinion, they have to work a lot with less, so my heart goes out to them. So I would actually love, me personally, if you're asking me, I would love to have our CRT teams available in some capacity for 24 hours. I would love to have 10 teams working, 2 teams assigned to each district so that we can make more of an impact. I will always be a proponent of that. We have 100% support from our administration, from our command staff in the division. It's just about resources and just making sure that we're prioritizing in different areas. So that's something that's actively talked about expanding the program. We're always looking for ways to do that. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Van Loo?
Yeah, so just to be clear, this is the 40-hour training for SCIT, is that correct still, or?
Yes, this is the voluntary 40-hour SCIT training, and once you're designated as a specialized CIT officer, you are required to take 4 hours additional training every year.
Mm-hmm.
And for the youth trauma training that is being put forth today, that's for 2026, the youth trauma for specialized CIT officers.
That's part of the 40 hours, or it's part of the update, the annual 4 hours, or whatever?
It's the annual 4 hours, so it's outside of that initial 40-hour.
Okay. And who presents that kind of training? Who will present the youth training? Like, it would be you or somebody like?
Subject matter experts, from the Adams Board.
Okay.
So this is everything that we do in terms of our training with CIT is in partnership with the Adams Board.
Mm-hmm.
So we're constantly bouncing things off of each other from a law enforcement perspective and then from a mental health perspective of, hey, how is this training going to be the most beneficial? So we're constantly in contact. Adams Board does an amazing job in providing us the resources, the subject matter experts that push this training forward.
Okay. And how many road officers, officers who are actually on the road, get this our SCIT trained versus command or lieutenant, higher ups?
So this would just be a guesstimation, but I would say around 140 officers, patrol section officers that would be specialized CIT training. We have a training in August where the recruitment's looking good. So we do 3 trainings per year. And as I said, I actively recruit throughout the year. And the trainings, we've gotten a great feedback. Mm-hmm. In terms of officers that are ready to step up and really want to do it.
Yeah, I actually went through that training a couple of years ago. Is that still open? Would commissioners still be able to do that if they wanted?
I could ask the CIT coordinator and run that up and get back to you about it.
Okay. And final question or questions. There's a new program at the city through EMS, non-police response for mental health. How does the SCIT work, and including the youth piece? How do you foresee that interacting with a different? Because that will take 911 calls and send clinicians and EMS folks on it. So how are you going to coordinate that?
To be honest, I really don't have an answer to that. The implementation of that program is not through the Cleveland Division of Police. Mm-hmm. So I just unfortunately don't have an answer to that question of how that would look.
Yeah, I mean it's public safety, it's EMS, so I think that coordination is going to be important to not waste resources. But yeah, okay.
Yes, in the back, whoever.
Are you?
I guess we can allow, it seems like there's a lot of interest from the public.
Yes, sir.
I understand that all of the officers are required at least an 8-hour CIT training in addition to those who take 40 hours. That every officer on the force has an 8-hour requirement for CIT training. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, in the back.
So the question, just no one can hear the question if they're watching this. So was it if all officers are required to take 8 hours? And the answer was yes.
Yes.
Not just the SATs who get the 40.
My question would be from a 1 to 10, how important do you think this position is for officers to have this training?
Could
So just to reiterate the question from.
Could you repeat his question?
So his question was, in a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this training to the officers with our division? And I would say an 11, sir.
Okay, and then my second question, I think he answered it. I would think that it would be mandatory for each and every police officer serving in the community at his training.
I would tend to agree with that, me personally.
Just for the public, the question was if the training should be mandatory.
Yes, but the official answer to that would be that it's required for the 40-hour specialized CIT officers that we have. But it would be beneficial to every officer, not just in Cleveland, but throughout the state of Ohio.
So for the public right now, for our comfort zone, so you're telling us that every officer out in the field right now has this training and is prepared to deal with the mental health crisis situation at any given moment?
Now, I can't answer that definitively, but I will say that the OPATA training that they received, the Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy, they receive 24 hours. And that's a mandated 24 hours in the academy that they receive. Every officer in the state of Ohio going through. And it covers a lot of good stuff. She had her hand up there for a while. Thank you. Absolutely. Ma'am?
So I really appreciate it, and I think it's so important. And I also want to, I'm not sure what exactly is being voted on by the commission, but I am very invested into the care response, the non-police care response that Tanisha's law was passed. And so I know that's just beginning. I don't know if they've hired a director yet for that, but so I know it hasn't developed yet, but I hope that resources are set aside to make sure that program, because fully trained social workers with master's degrees, et cetera, people who have experienced the trauma will be better responders and be able to respond. And it's certainly necessary, doesn't take away anything from what you're doing. I think that's great. And we need a very robust and well-supported non-police care response. Because I'm afraid of police. I've been harmed by police several times. And if I see police come in and I'm escalated, believe me, I'm only going one way. No matter how nice you are, you come with a gun and a bullet and a vest, I am not mellowing out, even with all the best training.
So I think we have Pastor Phillips, Terry Wong, and I think we'll have those last two comments and then we'll move on.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You've all been going since 2020, correct?
Yes, the co-responder program?
What
Yes.
is the data that says what your job that you've been doing, like how many things in this situations have been de-escalated and people have actually benefited from the program? You have some data.
So we do have data that becomes available annually with how many times was a co-responder on scene, what was the outcome, were they conveyed, left in place, arrested, unfortunately at times. So we do have all those statistics. I just don't want to necessarily kind of approximate with you during this meeting of, regarding what those numbers are. I do know that right now, as of this year, the co-responder teams have eclipsed last year's numbers in terms of being on scene with a licensed master's level clinician in an officer, and it's a big accomplishment.
Say this to you, Cleveland Police Department has a problem with that, providing that data. We need those data points because you all are doing a fantastic job. And it's great
Thank
if
you.
we can have those numbers to back up what you're saying. And we were just in another meeting that they didn't have the data too. We need that information so we can back up what you're saying, because it's a great thing. We want you to keep on doing it. So show us the data that says they're doing a great job. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. We do have have you heard of the dashboard, the City of Cleveland CIT dashboard?
No, I haven't.
So the City of Cleveland does have a public dashboard that's available on their website.
But you're here now.
That's showing the numbers.
You're here now.
Absolutely.
All right.
I'm here in front of you. So I'll ask you,
You're my dashboard. I need the data for my dashboard.
so entertain me for 1 second here. So I'm going to ask you a question. So last year we had around, I would say, and this is approximate without the numbers in front of me. So we had around 5,000 reportable CIT incidents. So that's a little under 15 a day for reportable CIT incidents. Now, if you take all of those CIT incidents together, what do you think our percentage of use of force of any kind was used on all those together? What do you think the percentage was?
I have no idea.
0.6.
That is fantastic.
We're doing an excellent job.
That is fantastic. That's what I'm
How,
talking about. That's fantastic.
I have a second question for you. What do you think the percentage was, if we take those 5,000, what do you think the percentage was of someone who went to jail as a result of a CIT?
I have no idea, but I'm going to learn.
It's really good. 2%.
That is really good. That's good.
Thank you.
I need to start
And that's really a testament to the officers out there. Like I said, you have officers out there that have the passion to do this, that take the time to do it, that care about it, really.
That's good. That's very good. Lead with that. That's good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One thing that I'll just add to that, so the Cleveland Open Data Portal has a CIT program dashboard that has a lot of this information, and so we can get your email address, and I'd be happy to send you this. It has information about the co-responder unit and the CIT unit, and so yeah.
And it really does have a lot of good information explaining everything down to how do we define use of force, how do we define level 1 use of force, level 2, level 3. So there's a lot of good information on that website.
Officer, hi.
Yes.
I personally observed a CIT incident in summer of 2023, so it was 3 years ago. But what troubled me was that there was a black veteran that was very distressed. I later found out that there was a physical altercation with his girlfriend, that he had asked the police to shoot him. And what I observed when I first came upon him was 10 non-CIT officers surrounding this man in a gazebo, sticking, the phone in very close to his face. Obviously, with 10 officers, regardless of it initially not being a CIT situation or not perceived that way, it could easily escalate because it's 10 to 1. I do want to note that it was me and a member of the press that eventually called CIT. This had gone on for an hour. Nothing was changing. The man was getting more and more irate. There was no de-escalation. So I would like you to explain to me how officers that do not have specialized training, what is the procedure for them to realize that that moment is requiring a specialized CIT officer, and what is the procedure for that, so you can explain, other than if the community members were not there, if I did not call them out, there wouldn't be no eyewitnesses to what happened. The other issue is that the CIT officer that I observed, there was just some interactions. The co-responder was behind the officer, and then suddenly I just saw the man, because I was pushed further and further away by your plainclothes or the regular officers, pushed to the ground and handcuffs. It was impossible, and then tied to a gurney. It was impossible to know whether that was constitutionally correct handcuffing. If you could answer my question as, is there a GPO? I'm sorry, the audience does not know what is happening because we don't have the in front of us with the commission.
Okay, so I want to just interject real quick. I think that the question is, in a situation where there's a group of officers that may not have that CIT training, how do they recognize that this is a CIT moment, and sort of what process do they go through to get the specialized officer to that incident?
Absolutely. So the officers that are not specialized CIT training, they do a base level of CIT training every year. So they're still getting CIT refreshers. It's just these specialized CIT officers getting 4 more than everyone in our division. So everyone in our division, all the way up to our command staff, are attending crisis intervention refreshers. So there's always a baseline CIT training that is happening with every member of our division. Now, if there was an officer that isn't specialized CIT, they get to a scene that, and maybe it wasn't coded as a crisis, a CIT. They get there, and based upon what's being observed, what's being said, things of that nature, they can then contact dispatch and ask if a specialized CIT officer is available. And unfortunately, one may not be available. We may have specialized CIT officers that are tied up on other calls. It's just kind of the nature of the beast at times where a specialized CIT officer may not be available. But as this program progresses, as we get the support and we continue moving forward, I would love to see our entire division specialized CIT.
Thank you to the public. I think we have one more comment question from Commissioner
Just a
Bain.
quick one. Another question prompted it. With your co-responders, and I've met a number of them, and they do really good work.
Thank you.
Is there a movement to making them the actual first responders? Because my understanding is right now they do not respond first. They go after a squad clears the scene. Is there a chance that will change in the future?
I can't speculate, unfortunately. I just don't have an answer for that.
Okay. Because they really are not first responders, as they're not going to be at the scene before armed non-SCIT officers generally. Or there might be an SCIT officer, but it could be just a regular officer, right? Okay.
Thank you. I just have one quick question, just off of what was said. So if officers, if it's not a CIT call, but then it turns out that there was a failure to recognize that maybe a specialized officer or someone with more training should have been called to an incident, is there what does the division do about that? Is there like a retraining? I'm just trying to, I know that they're getting some training and some people have more than others, but.
Unfortunately, I don't have a specific answer to that question. Yes.
A partial answer. One thing that the Adams Board has done is provided training to the dispatchers, and a dispatcher CIT training essentially, and part of that is helping the dispatchers to be able to recognize that even when someone is not actively explaining something as a crisis or is not asking for an SCIT, that they would be able to recognize that, oh, this is a type of call. And I'm assuming if there was a pattern that there would probably be conversations with dispatchers.
Absolutely. We encourage every class. We encourage our dispatchers to take part in our 40-hour class. So we usually have at least three or four dispatchers that take the 40-hour training as well.
And there's a new grant. The city got a grant to train dispatchers in mental health and to embed clinicians at dispatch. So that's starting to change as well.
All right, we want to thank our guests for coming in today. We appreciate you coming in and speaking on our behalf.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
All right, next item on our agenda, the Executive Director Report, given by our Executive Director, Shelley Williams.
Hello? Okay. All right, well, good evening, everyone. And welcome to tonight's meeting. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Nice crowd tonight. So we have lots of updates. June has been a pretty significant month for us, has been this whole year, but I'd like to bring you up to speed. And so I'd like to say that very glad we finally published and will be disseminating our annual report. The report has been completed and it is published on our website. Our commissioners, you guys will be receiving a copy via email. And the report takes a comprehensive look at the accomplishments of all committees during the 2025 calendar year. Again, the report is on our website currently, and all commissioners will be receiving a copy via electronically. The 2026 strategic plan, second half of the year, is also complete. This plan outlines the priorities and goals set forth for the second half of the year, again, as set forth by our chairs for all 6 committees. And so I want to say thank you so much for submitting your strategic plans. They were instrumental in completing the report. The plan is organized around 4 different pillars: strengthening the CPC's charter, independence, and institutional authority, expanding community engagement and public trust, advancing policy review and police accountability infrastructure, and finally, organizational capacity, building and sustainability. The evidentiary hearing manual is being updated, but I will let Commissioner Coleman and AD Scott share those updates with you. We are also building out a new process for case review. And again, Commissioner Coleman, AD Scott, and also Commissioner Benito, they are working together to secure or ensure that process. And so they will be giving reports during their committee report out. Commissioner recruitment. So applications are currently open. We are accepting applications, and not us. We are not accepting applications, but we do have the link. If you know someone who would like to become a commissioner, we have 7 seats that will be open. The link is on our website, and the link is also on the city's website. So I encourage you to tell all of your friends that we are currently accepting applications until July 17th. That's when the window will close. The grants, Commissioner Umason will give you an update on our grants. We are currently building out our office. As you guys know, we are hiring staff right now, and we don't have enough space for all the staff that will be coming on board. So we are adding additional cubicles. 3 of them will be built out. We're adding new wiring, just all the new things for all the staff that we anticipate having. We currently just concluded interviews for our senior policy analyst. We're hiring 2 of those. And so, like I said, this week we've concluded interviews, or we will be concluding interviews. So we look to have those staff on board very soon. Next week, we are to conclude our community engagement coordinator staff positions. And so we're looking to have them on board very soon as well. So we are moving right along. Currently, we do have an RFP out for the community survey. CPC also conducts a community survey. And so that RFP has been published. We will conduct what are called pre-bid conferences with the vendors, and that will take place on Monday. This gives the vendors an opportunity to sit and ask any questions before, placing their formal bids. And I just want to say this is a significant milestone for the CPC as it relates to the community engagement strategy. The survey will serve as a foundational tool for data gathering, assessing Cleveland residents, their awareness of trust in the CPC. It will also capture community perceptions of the CDP and police accountability processes. It'll help us to identify neighborhoods and populations with limited CPC awareness, and also establishes a baseline for us with regard to metrics against which the CPC can measure. So this will be significant for us. I don't think we've conducted a community survey in probably about 2 or 3 years. We're redesigning our website. So we have an RFP in process for that. So if you know someone who is a webmaster, please let them know that probably within the week we will have that RFP out. We are looking to get our website refreshed and updated. We are also building out a process for records retention, and I'll let A.D. Scott elaborate on that. And then finally, for me, all commissioners will be engaging in a SharePoint training. So commissioners, please remember to mark your calendars for June 30th at 4 p.m. And that concludes my report.
Next is the co-chair report given by Dr. Adams.
All right, so I just have a few things. I did want to mention the status conference that was held yesterday. There were several items that were discussed, and one of which was the relationship that the CPC has with the city. I do think that the monitoring team did a fairly good job of expressing some of the concerns that the commission has, and I thought that they also did a good job, particularly on their presentation on the search and seizure element of the consent decree. And so I just want to thank the monitoring team for that work that they did. I think they represented our concerns really well. But the judge seems to, what he concluded at the end of the status of the meeting was that he's willing to get more involved and more engaged directly if he feels that that's what's needed to push things forward. So I think that that we're making progress through working with Judge Solomon Oliver. So I'd like to thank him as well, because he seems very dedicated and committed to not just making sure that the consent decree is complied with, but making sure that the changes are sustainable and durable once the consent decree ends. So I just want to say that. And then I think there was the other thing I wanted to talk about was a meeting that we had with the chief of police. And so I think it was a good meeting. What we talked about in the meeting primarily was this discipline piece that we've been trying to get our minds around. We talked a little bit about, you know, the conflict that we do have with the CBA. And so what we expressed to the chief is that we know that the CBA is in place. We understand that there will probably be some litigation on this or sometime in the future. But until we are at that point, what our goal is to work together to make sure that we can do our job that is in the charter while that CBA is still in place. And so what we talked about was a discussion about how do we get involved in the process sooner. And we expressed to her that the CPC shares the division's concerns of the appearance of double disciplining officers. And so I think it was a good discussion. It seemed like they were more open to that. You know, it seemed like there was a difference from when we had this discussion last year, where there seems to be less openness to it. So we're going to continue those monthly meetings and work together so that we can do the discipline piece that is perhaps the most important part of the charter responsibility that we've been given. And is there anything else I have?
Through the chair.
Yeah.
When you're concluded, can you please allow A.D. Scott to give his update?
I think that's all I have, so I'll pass it to A.D. Scott.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Director. Over the course of the month that I've been here, I've taken stock and had an opportunity to review what we have in place currently. After conducting that review, I took it upon myself to start implementing, or at least drafting, policies that are going to meet Judge Oliver's standard of substantial and effective. I've enlisted the help of Commissioners Coleman and Benito to run through that. I've developed, I believe, 8 so far. 8 different policies covering bylaws, hearing manual, case review, rules of decorum for meetings, and budgets and grants seem to be sort of the hot topics that we need to get under control to get the mission back on track. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to direct them to me. You know, I'm effectively serving as in-house counsel for the commission. Happy to answer and address any legal questions you have. And same with the community. You know, if you have questions for the commission from a legal standpoint, feel free to reach out to me. Anybody have anything else? Any questions, concerns? Okay.
No, I got it.
Go for it.
I was just gonna say the grants isn't a topic; it's the only topic.
And so right, like we want to avoid a 2-year backlog again. Some of it is just the procedures, right? We're doing something that hasn't been done before, and so getting on literally the same page is going to produce that result. You know, we are pioneers at this, and a strengthening of the internal structure is going to do wonders for us. So I'm looking forward to knocking it out over the remaining 6 months that we have here for the strategic plan, and coming into 2027 with some reinforced rules and guidelines that the commission can act on. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move forward to our committee status reports. First report is given by our Rules Committee Chair, Commissioner Tara Coleman.
Hi, Tim kind of stole my report, but I'll go over. So from the last report, I will go back, and especially this is for my Rules Committee members. As you all know, we had been focusing on 3 main, what I call like anchor rules that impact other things, and that was 1.4.4 leadership, 1.4.5 committees, 1.7.8 meeting attendance and participation, that myself, Commissioner Pete Van Leer, and Sharina Zayed have all been assigned one, and we're going through a systematic review of that. So to the extent all of the work we've done, we need to get that to the rules chair so that we can implement that in the process. So what's happening now is, as Tim said, a need for creating like a police accountability review process for the rules, and then that will in turn require revisions and revamping of the evidentiary hearings procedure, so that all plays together. And so the rules committee will kind of be refocusing our efforts on that, but I want to get in the 3 main kind of things we've been working on into that process, if that makes sense. And then that will probably be our main update at the next Rules Committee meeting. And then I will also just say, to the extent there are any meetings or conversations or anything dealing with the CBA or timing, to the extent you can, I would include the Assistant Director, Tim Scott, because he's going to be thinking through those very issues as he's doing these first drafts.
Thank you. Next committee status report will be given by our Police Accountability Committee Chair, Commissioner Chandra Marrero Benito.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to kind of build on what Commissioner Coleman talked about and our Assistant Director Scott has talked about. I kind of want to give a general update to the public. I heard your comments addressing that you want to see us hear cases, and I can assure you that the commission also wants us to be utilizing our want us to be utilizing. It's all right. Technical difficulties. This commission also wants us to be utilizing our full statutory authority in helping hold our police officers accountable when they need to be held accountable. So the challenge that we have come into, and that has been kind of mentioned, is that there is currently a conflict that exists between the collective bargaining agreement and the charter, in Charter 115.5. When it talks about the commission has the final authority to issue police discipline. However, also, the collective bargaining agreement puts in restrictions around how and when officers can be disciplined. So, when looking at how we have received cases and how we have structured our ability to review and impose discipline is through our evidentiary hearing manual, which an evidentiary hearing is essentially a review of police officers' discipline, where we would hear from the public safety director or the chief. We would hear, the officer would have the opportunity to come present their case. We have a case package that's presented, that's a review of the evidence, and then the commission reviews it, confers and makes a decision about whether the discipline that was given to the officer was correct, and then potentially imposes new discipline. Now, that process takes place after discipline has already been imposed, and sometimes significantly after an officer has had discipline imposed. Sometimes years, sometimes months, depending on the cases that have been brought up. The CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, has timelines through which an officer has to be disciplined in order for the discipline to be valid. So, what we have found is in the process that we currently have, which is this post-discipline review, and then using our authority on the back end, creates a conflict with not imposing discipline in the way that the collective bargaining agreement lays out. We have sought legal counsel around this. I will also note that the collective bargaining agreement was created after Issue 24 passed, and yet the CPC was not considered or part of the negotiations. So this conflict could have been addressed as part of negotiations, and it wasn't. And so part of what the commission is doing, and our leadership, our executive director, our co-chairs, are having conversations around how do we make sure that when bargaining happens again, that it is not possible for this conflict to be written into the bargaining agreement. So we sought outside legal counsel, and what we were told is that Ohio law has case law that has settled the question of what happens when you have a local charter that is in conflict with the collective bargaining agreement. And that, and I can read you the case. It's the Ohio Association of Public School Employees v. Willoughby, East Lake City School District, 2022. Essentially issued that if there is an explicit conflict between the collective bargaining agreement and local law, that the collective bargaining agreement and essentially the grievance process prevails. So this unfortunately is settled law, and so it is possible that the commission could say, well, we don't care, we're going to impose discipline anyway, right? That is something that we could do, but part of what we want to do is to ensure the strength of the commission and the charter long term. So we have said our process for how we are trying to get around this right now, until we are able to see that the collective bargaining agreement is changed for the future, is to instead engage in a ability for us to be involved in the disciplinary process on the front end. So essentially, instead of reviewing cases after the discipline has been imposed, to receive what the discipline is going to be before it is imposed, and then work, talk to the chief and the public safety director to say, hey, we disagree with what you're imposing, we believe it should be this, give them the opportunity to revise it, and then if at that point, so this is all still happening prior to the imposition of discipline, if at that point they still do not change it, we could go to an evidentiary hearing, which is then what we would do that same process, but it is all happening either before the discipline has been imposed or right after the discipline has been imposed, which would then allow us to stay within the timelines listed in the CBA. So how we are working on doing this is we are currently so it's through work with our Rules Committee and our Commissioner Coleman and our Policy Committee, Commissioner Van Leer, and all of our committees are working together in a few different ways. So one, we have our corrective action policy, which we are currently updating to include items on the procedural aspect of what CDP procedure is. That lays out what they have to do, which would include sending us the case file, meeting with the accountability committee, kind of the steps that they would follow. So that's the CDP part. So that's going to be in the corrective action policy, and I'll let Commissioner Van Leer kind of talk about where we're at with that policy in his committee report. And then that is their side, and then our side, there needs to be two different policies that are created and rules that are created. One is how, once we receive the case package, and we are talking to the chief or the public safety director about what that discipline is, what is the procedure that we use to review it? And then a second procedure for if that case then needs to be taken to an evidentiary hearing, what is the procedure that we would use for that? So that is the kind of process that we are in right now. This is a big lift, and a lot of people are working together on it. I also just want to acknowledge the frustration and disappointment that we haven't been hearing cases yet, and that there is still more time that we're developing this before we hear cases. But I just also want to assure you that we are working very hard together to ensure that when we do issue discipline, that we are doing so in the smartest and most legally sound way to protect the commission and our rights moving forward. I think that kind of encapsulates some of that. We're definitely open to hearing feedback from the community and commissioners, and we will be keeping you in the loop. That is a lot of what the Accountability Committee has been doing, but a second piece that I wanted to add is that we do have now our Brady Giglio work group that has 4 wonderful community members on it and 4 commissioners, and we are in a training stage where we have done one training, and now we are working to get some other training set up on case reviews, on the disciplinary and investigatory processes, and with some prosecutors' offices to help make sure that all of our committee members are knowledgeable and feel ready to start reviewing cases, which our goal, as laid out in our strategic plan, is to start reviewing all 2026 cases. And so that we will keep reviewing all cases so that we can keep that list up to date. So that is our report.
I'll defer to, I'm gonna wait until Commissioner Van Leer, because he may cover what I was gonna say in his report.
Okay. Next, we have our Police Policy Committee update given by Commissioner P. Van Leer.
Yeah, thank you. So our main thing, as Commissioner Moreira Benito said, is we've been working on corrective action, and I think she described pretty well. I don't have to repeat what she said about how we're trying to build the process on the GPO side so that it works. And we had a policy committee meeting, and Commander Muscle was there, and we sort of engaged with him. We need to get back. We were asking them, if you could make this work, because they're very concerned about the timeline and adding time to their process and going beyond the 90 days that they have. So, asking them, okay, what would work for you, and how can we do this? Well, here's our ideas, and we're trying to get that dialogue going, and so I need to follow up with them. And we did, we spent the entire last meeting talking about corrective action. We thought we might be able to get through it that evening, but we clearly could not. We did get some really good feedback from a couple of the commissioners, appreciate that. But the questions are still really a lot of the same, there's still a lot of the same sticking points where we need to make final decisions on, the level of discretion is a big one. Like the division wants more discretion, while we've, the purpose of our GPO is to really limit that for the most part. There's also some issues around, that fairness and consistency piece, and getting ourselves in the process earlier, and and just some other smaller details around that. And that's what's holding us up, and that we're trying to work through, and hopefully by our next meeting we'll be able to move that forward. Other than that, we have a big issue for us is the wearable camera systems. There was also a CBA conflict there, which came to light. It was language that was included, I think I've talked about this before here, in the draft that was sent to us from the Division of Police. But then after we passed it last time, they raised that as something that was in conflict that they couldn't do, is about secondary employment and wearing cameras for authorized secondary employment. I have asked the monitoring team, this was part of a discussion with the city and the division and the monitoring team, if they had more feedback on that, because we have not heard their written, response to that question, other questions about the GPO we passed. So haven't heard back from the monitoring team yet. And in the meantime, we've realized there's some language around perceptual interviews, an interview process, and how that fits in with the wearable camera systems GPO, and we need to make sure we're focused on that and clarify that. Otherwise, we do have the surveillance tech work group that started meeting again, and hopefully we can keep that moving forward. And there is a policy related to the a GPO related to the LGBTQ plus community that we want to convene. And if anybody on the commission would be interested in chairing that work group, that would be amazing. In the meantime, I will probably have to work on that. But if anybody would like to do that, please reach out to me. And if any community members are interested in that work group, we've been doing some outreach with affected communities. So I think, and Jocelyn Sandusky, our comms person, has been working to pull that together. So that is my update. Fellow committee members, if I'm missing anything.
Commissioner Nelson.
We were privileged to have a meeting with the city. I think Commissioner Van was probably referring to that. And one of the issues about early intervention and in our enthusiasm, we didn't ignore it, we just sort of glossed over it. But officers also have due process rights. So if we intervene too early, we actually could be in violation of their due process rights. So we're trying to get a balance so that we can, one, not extend it so far that, as both chairs have talked about, there's no double jeopardy. And it's not double jeopardy in the pure sense, but the way the CPPA is written, we could actually be disciplining an officer who's already been disciplined. So that was the real issue. And if you were here for one of our early hearings, that was a major issue. And it was legitimate, and each commissioners had different perceptions on that. But we really wanted to avoid that, punishing an officer who's already been off, who's already been punished, who's had the deductions, and then 2 years later we come back and then we impose some discipline. The other thing is that if we go too early, though, in the process, and it's sort of pointed out that we could actually violate the due process rights of the officer, and that's regardless and not irrespective of the CPPA. So that's some of the heavy lifting that has to be done within those committees. And one of the things that this probably was one of the most amenable meetings we had with the city law department and other command, in that we all were on the same page. We want to properly discipline, but we want to do it in a time frame that is effective and actually serves the purpose for which we have established. So I just want to just elaborate a little bit on the meeting that we had. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Nelson. That reminds me of another item that we're going to be working on, is that we have the division has sent their draft of a policy process that would help formalize some of the work that we're doing with them in terms of the conversations around the GPOs.
One other thing, let me add this. To the rank and file officers here, we really were cognizant of you guys in the discussion, while at the same time being very concerned about the fact that citizens have rights too. But we're really concerned about you guys, so that, you know, you plan, you make a mistake. Well, not you guys, you don't make mistakes, more than here. But if an officer makes a mistake, okay, that they're punished timely. Once that punishment is over, you don't want your family or you exposed to, man, they're about to throw me off the force again after I've done the punishment. So that was real key. But we really think that rank and file needs to be aware of the fact that the commission is really cognizant of both you and the citizens who may be the subject, who may be the complaining citizen. So it's work that has to be done. That's, I want to make sure you all know that. So both for the citizens and for the officers. Okay? Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Next status report is given by our, for our outreach committee, given by its chair, Commissioner Maya Kincaid.
Hi, everybody. I will be very, very brief. The bulk of the work from this month for me has been surrounded by the DPCs, or I'm sorry, I'm breaking my own rule, the district policing committees. I try not to use the acronyms. So it is mandated in the charter that there is collaboration between the district policing committees, between my colleagues here at the CPC, and between the Community Relations Board. And so far, that collaboration has not quite been effective. And so it has been my goal to meet with the commanding officers and their adjacent civilian co-chairs to determine what their ideology is around collaborating with us and CRB. So far, I've had one of those meetings successfully with the 3rd District. I have another scheduled for tomorrow with the 2nd District, and I am awaiting the scheduling of that meeting for the remaining districts. We are also looking forward to, and I'll be honest, there's been a little snag in this. We have been looking forward to hosting a community outreach day that included some wellness, like yoga and things like that. We have a yoga instructor that signed on to do this with us, and a few members of the department, and we are actually working with her schedule. She did make the assessment that the weather may become a barrier, because if it rains, she doesn't want people to be outside in, wet grass or, on a wet surface. So she's looking for a studio that will host us. So that may affect our next outreach meeting. And so you'll know as soon as I know if that can still be scheduled for the intended date for that outreach meeting, if we're going to move it. And I think Director Williams already covered where we are with the survey. Thank you. Where we are with the survey. So as previously promised, that is moving forward, and we should be selecting a contractor to be moving that survey forward soon. I think that's it for me. Yeah.
Thank you. Next is our Budget and Grants Committee report given by its chair, Commissioner Imo Umason.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity. I first just wanted to say thank you to Director Williams, because grantees are going under contract now, finally. So thank you for a round of applause. Thank you. So that is happening. I know some people were saying that it was kind of hard to get in contact with grantee sticks. I know this process has been a long process. So please reach out to us, or I know people on the staff are reaching out to grantees as well. To get that going. So that process is happening. The next update, just for the grants process for our strategic plan for the rest of the year, is that the goal was to just streamline it. So what we came up with was kind of like a general 4-year plan, but kind of broken up. A 4-year, let me turn it, 4-year plan, 4-year plan, but divided into 2 years for each cycle. So our goal now is for 2026 and 2027 to be its own, 2-year cycle, then 28 and 29 in its own 2-year cycle. and then kind of just ensuring that if a grantee applies in 2026, it could be security for, at least you'll be receiving funding for 26 and 27. And I know in the previous budget and grants meetings, we talked about, Commissioner Miller, I love that she mentioned the point of making sure that also community organizations maybe that aren't fully off the ground yet, or what if someone has like an idea or something that could be beneficial to the community, we still want to make sure that that's a part of the grant process. So really within the next 2 months, the goal is to get 2026 up and running, which would include 2027. And then the main thing that we found what the issue was, and I know we said it previously, is that the funding would go to the nonprofit that we're working with that will help us vet organizations, do site visits, and things like that. The goal would be for that same nonprofit to help us distribute the funds as well, just because for a lot of nonprofits who do this work, that's just one of the main things that they do is also help distribute the money. So we just want to make sure that we utilize whoever we work with, just their full capacity in helping us do that. Just because they're the expert in that field, we kind of have a lot of wiggle room and kind of authority on how we can do it. So doing it that way is what we identified would work. So 26, 27, next 2 months, trying to get that going. It has to go through a couple processes, but that's what we're looking at.
To the chair, doing it the way you're suggesting it also, because I know commissioners are always concerned about conflicts of interest. And this eliminates conflicts of interest because we don't have any direct involvement. So the selection process and all that. So this will really assist in reducing the possibility of conflict of interest. You don't have to be concerned about that anymore.
Yeah. So I know. Yeah. Go ahead.
I just want to just interject on that. We may not have conflict of interest, but the way that conflict of interest work is that if you're involved in any part of the process, you just have to make sure you don't have a conflict. So if we find a conflict, typically a commissioner may recuse themselves, or sometimes we try to identify, but the commissioners do have to vote on the grants, and so that could create a potential conflict.
Yeah. So all I just wanted to say really quickly yeah, we would still do like how we did for this previous grant cycle, is make sure that no one had a conflict of interest. Those type of things would still be in place, and then we move forward with, especially with the nonprofit we're working with, but those general channels would still be in place. But yeah, this streamlined process, to what you mentioned, it would kind of alleviate some things, but we'd still fill out, I believe we did like, forms that everyone made sure that they didn't have any issues with nonprofits. So we'd still do those things. Oh, you're not doing that?
No, it's okay.
You sure?
Yes, we'll talk about it another time. I have more questions, but I don't have to affect everybody with them. And it seems like everybody's sick.
No, exactly.
So, I want to say I'm supportive of that concept there. We talked about it a couple years ago, of doing something like that to streamline the process and make sure the money can go out more quickly. So I'm very supportive, and I also wanted to, that we would still vote, and I'm glad you raised that issue. But I think it would be a good approach to this work.
Yeah, thank you.
Just want to say thank you for your work on this, and I am so excited about multi-year general operating grants for nonprofits. We love to see it.
Through the chair, as a Budget and Grants Committee member, I would like to bring a motion to the table. I move that the CPC approve and ratify the professional consultant service agreement between the Commission and Richard Jackson, subject matter and police and procedures practices for initial engagement period of 8 weeks at a total compensation of $10,000 with automatic renewal upon satisfactory reporting of scope of work to the Commission, effective upon the passage of this motion.
So before there's further, I will just.
No, he's.
Yeah, I will make a point of order. I would like to know, just to make sure that, did this go through the Budget and Grants Committee already?
Yes, it did. We just ratifying it. It was
You're ratifying?
passed, but we're just ratifying it at this
But
moment.
not this contract. If there's, any expertise around if the contract's updated, what that would look like.
It would have to be revisited.
It would have to pass the committee.
I have a point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, sir.
Why are we voting on it? I know that sounds like a facetious question, so let me back up, put some substance around it. Or as Brenda Bickerstaff would say, lay the foundation. It's my understanding from our charter and from the job description that of the executive director, and this is not to denigrate what you're saying, because it may be necessary. She has authority to hire and contract. So, and there's no need for us to vote, because it says distinctly in her job description and in our charter that we hire her and she hires everybody else. That's the way it works everywhere. Now, here's the question. Are we voting, was there a necessity to move some money around? Is that what we're voting on?
I think,
So somebody can clarify.
to clarify, the rules state that spending anything over $10,000 requires that is voted on by the Budget and Grants Committee and then approved by the full commission.
So it's the approval, I'm sorry, so to the chair. It's approved, so this is a vote to approve the
Correct, the money.
the monies. But were the monies already allocated, were already allocated, and are they being moved from a certain category, or are they already allocated under the, don't we have a category for
Do you want to?
professional services?
You can go, but from my understanding, it was through operations. There wasn't like a specific money going to contracting services from the last meeting.
To the chair, the money that was secured from salaries and benefits and moved to operations, that money did land in contractual services. That's where that money was allocated.
Well, that wasn't, I don't believe that was.
We haven't heard from Commissioner Coleman, so let's let her.
Well, I guess a real point of order, everybody said point of order, but then we never got back on track. So I have no clue what's happening right now. Can we get maybe a clear motion, a second, and then have discussion so we know what we're discussing? It seems like Commissioner Miller tried to make a motion, but then we just start talking about stuff, so I'm kind of lost.
But I can go back to my
And
point of order.
if it could be repeated so we can all know what we're discussing.
To the chair.
So, hold on, I just want to say, the point of order is basically, is that if we have we're approving $40,000. And so my point of order was meant to sort of remind us that the process is that it goes through Budget and Grants Committee and then to the full commission, but because that hasn't been approved by the Budget and Grants Committee, it might be premature for us to have this conversation. So that was my point of order. But Commissioner Nelson, do you want to?
Yeah, so I don't want to confuse you. My point of order was, why are we voting on this contract when the executive director has the authority to do things, including the contract? And so is your response that because of the amount exceeds a certain level? Oh, okay.
It's not just the amount, it's also where the funds are coming from. The funds are coming from the CPC's operations budget, and so that requires approval from the board.
Through the chair, if I could, again, just clarify, when that money was moved from salaries and benefits, it was moved to contractual services. That's where that 140 resides. That's where it currently resides, on that line item.
But that only goes.
Yeah, it was for I think in the last meeting when we voted for it, was for operations. So if it fell in contractual, that was without my knowledge. I'm not sure if anyone else knew that, but it was operations. So I believe we would still have to vote on the amount for it. So let's go just for it to go to a specific cause or contract.
Let's go Commissioner Kincaid, Commissioner Benito.
So it was my understanding that the last time we spoke on this, and we did in fact make a vote, it was to approve a specific time frame for this contract and a specific dollar amount, and that we would revisit it if it ever exceeded that specific dollar amount. That dollar amount, to my
remembrance was $6,000.
That was a different
So now right,
That's a different
and so that was a different contract. And so now, if we are revisiting this, it wouldn't make sense to me that we still would have to honor the need to vote to exceed that dollar amount, which we discussed was $6,000. So
If I could, so let me clarify a
Hold
little.
on, clerk. We're gonna go to Commissioner Benito and then we'll come back. That's the.
So I believe that even if money is budgeted in a specific category, expenses over that amount still have to be voted on by the commission. For example, when we always vote on the conference registrations and travel arrangements, that's budgeted into a category for travel and conferences, but we still have to approve the expenditures because it exceeds the amount budgeted. So I think that the responsibility of the commission, and I'll defer to Commissioners Emerson and Coleman, is that it's not just about, even if it's within the category, sorry, but if not just within the category, the actual expenditures must be categorized. And so I think from what I'm hearing right now, there does seem to be some discrepancy between, that this current contract has not been voted out of committee, and also some discrepancy around understanding of what was approved in the Budget and Grants Committee around the money that was moved. And so I would like, I don't know, maybe the commissioners can help me, but what I would like to propose is that we send this back to Budget and Grants so that it can be addressed properly in Budget and Grants. So I don't know if that would be a friendly amendment or how I would word that.
Through the chair, if I could,
Oh, there is no motion right now.
pull A.D. Scott into this so that and I did want to clarify Commissioner Kincaid's previous comment. And so in the beginning of all of this, what you were referring to was the agreement under Snyder and Blake, which is the city's temp service. So the city has a temporary staffing service. And so, and I, at the advisement of, he's no longer with us, but Andre Reynolds, he was a person in finance. I asked him pointedly before engaging Richard Jackson under Snyder Blake, would he be considered a city employee? And his response pointedly was no. And so we entered into an agreement, it's not a contract, just so that I could have someone here helping me, because as you know, month 2, like I said, I was drinking from the fire hydrant, not the fire hose, right? It was a lot. This work is inundating, trying to bring this office back up to speed. And so we entered into, that agreement with Snyder Blake, but then the law department, Chief Spencer Thomas, and our then staff attorney, Louis Smoot, they both came to me and said that Snyder Blake is what's considered a joint employer with the city, effectively making Richard Jackson a city employee. And so we immediately dissolved that agreement. What they did say was, we don't want to leave you like high and dry. There is another way. Richard Jackson can come as a consultant into the city. That way he's independent. He's not a city employee. He has no city ties. And he's, fully able to, work and operate with the CPC as a consultant. And so when I brought that to you guys and said that, we can't use him through Snyder Blake, but we can use him as a consultant. The thought was, when the Snyder Blake 8 weeks at $6,000 was dissolved, that wasn't the end of Richard Jackson. We were simply securing him in a manner and way that would be amenable to the city as a consultant. Right? And so now, what we did do was, we prepared a contract. Richard did send it over to City Law. The contract did get extended throughout the end of the year at $40,000. And that's when we began to have these, concerns about money and time. And so, we did what I thought was satisfactory to the commission in revising the contract so that the money and time was something more satisfactory to you. But here we are.
Can we have AD, Scott, can you comment on this?
I'm not sure what I can add. Excuse me, I'm a little under the weather. Not sure what else I can add to this at the moment.
So does it have to go back to the committee, even though we
Or can
passed
we
it? or
vote
can
it
we
down
just
right here
ratify
and
it?
then bring it back into full commission?
I believe we were going to vote down the old contract and put the new one forward, was my understanding for this meeting.
I think we can do that. I just think we haven't, the first step is the Budget and Grants Committees. If we, the 6,000 went through that committee and then it came to us and we voted on it. So the 40,000 should also go through that committee and come to us. I don't think we're discussing the contribution that Richard Jackson can make to the commission, but it hasn't gone through the proper process, and so that's all we're trying to say right now.
Right, and through the chair, so the contract itself, it does outline his scope of work, but it also has the amount. And so the contract has been amended to include 8 weeks at $10,000.
Yeah, and I also think that there's, so I just think there's a process issue, but I also think that, I know that we received this morning, and I know that I had, things I was doing today, I tried my hardest to read it before the meeting, but I only got through 2 of the 13 pages. So I also think that for some of us, and I know that there's an issue that I would want to read it, and there are some feedback I would like to give on just the 2 pages that I read. So I just think that we also would like
contract, but it just has the amendment that you guys asked for.
To the chair, what are your concerns? Because from my understanding, we're not here to vote on the scope of the contract, but the money's part. We met yesterday, and the budget committee said we were going to bring it to the body. So I'm still trying to understand, why are we still bickering about the scope of this man's work when we should be discussing the money?
Well, I think the two go hand in hand. When I'm voting for the $40,000, I'm voting for what that $40,000 is going to do. And
hold on, let me, when you say that you're voting to understand what that 40,000 going to do, let me take you back to when we were at, I don't forget exactly where we were, but I was concerned, and I brought it to you all, and we went into executive session regarding 2 employees. And you all told me, because I was concerned about their work scope, and you all told me that is not our concern. That is the concern of the ED. So I'm holding you all to the same status. Y'all told me to step out of that, because I want to know what the day of work was. I want to know when they were coming and going.
That's 2 different
So y'all
things.
said,
That's not the same thing.
Commissioner, it's the same,
It's
because
not.
the ED is here to handle that.
Absolutely.
So my question would be, I'm sorry, go ahead, Commissioner Kincaid.
So my next question would be, based on the motion that was originally heard, is that this would be $10,000 for 8 weeks, and then it would be automatically renewable at the end of that 8 weeks pending satisfactory. But so who determines? So it would solely be you that would determine.
No, it says the
that
commission. The commission.
So then, well, if I may. So with that, I guess my question would be, at the end of that 8 weeks, we would have an opportunity to review what's been done in that 8 weeks, discuss it, and determine if we want to move forward with spending another $10,000 for another 8 weeks or renew the contract, so on, right? Isn't that how I'm understanding this will go?
Correct. It would have been the same as basically the Snyder-Blake agreement.
Okay.
Except for the Snyder-Blake agreement was a little less. And the reason that the Snyder-Blake agreement was a little less is because under the Snyder-Blake agreement, again, I was just trying to get some help in here. I needed help. We kind of brought him in as a policy analyst. He was never a policy analyst. His subject matter expertise far exceeds that.
Well, so this is my only concern, and I'll leave it at this. again, I do agree that it is your staff, right? And so if you feel that this is a resource that you need, that's fine. And we've already discussed that we want to give you whatever professional development resources you feel like you need. The other side of this, though, is that this is money that's coming out of our very limited budget. So I think it is fair for us to have concerns or questions about how this money on your professional development or your professional needs to run this office, where it's going. So I don't think it is unfair for several of my colleagues to have concerns. I think that the remedy for some of those concerns is understanding exactly how a review process will go so that we can make sure we are spending our money on something effective. And I think that's the basis of most of our concerns.
So we got Commissioner Benito, and then Commissioner Benito, and then Commissioner Nelson.
Chair Adams, can I please respond to Commissioner Kincaid? Is that, okay. And so I do want to address some of your concerns. And so it wouldn't be solely for me. He would be here for the commission and the rebuild of the commission. Again, and I've outlined his expertise several times for everyone, and as you see, the community speaks on his behalf, and this is unsolicited. The community has come out en masse because Sergeant Jackson, he's been here before. He is not, this for me is, this is consequential. He is one of the original writers of the seats that you sit in, the original architect. He sat with these community members and he put Charter 115 together from concept to conceptualization. We don't have to figure out, we don't have to sit and guess and wonder what this means, the interpretation of it. We can go to Jennifer Blakely, we can go to Sergeant Jackson, we can go to Brenda Bickerstaff. We don't have to guess and wonder. We have these people here at our disposal, and we can have him here regularly to understand the charter. Not only did he help to write the charter, the disciplinary matrix that we're using, he also authored that. Not only did he help to author that, he was a former commissioner. He sat in these seats that you sit in. He sat in the very seats that Co-Chair Adams and Zayed sit in. He's a 30-year vet. Policing practices, he's a professional. Not just as a police officer, as a command staff, at the command staff level. I don't know what it is that we're deliberating over, and he's willing to do this. A person of his stature, a subject matter expert of his caliber, they come in every day at $200, $300, $400 an hour. His contract, what I'm asking for, he is so significantly underrated. I'm not saying he's doing it for free, but almost. And it's not because he's doing it for money. He's doing it to make sure that this is legacy work for him. He's making sure that we get on our feet the right way, that we are placed in a position that is sustainable and durable. That's what we don't want to ever be in the position that I came into this office. Ever. So we're trying to make sure that that never happens again.
So we'll go Commissioner Benito, Commissioner Nelson, then Commissioner Umason. Are you going to go as well?
So, I love Richard Jackson. Can we get back to I'm just confused about the process and what we're voting on. Like, I guess not the merits of Richard Jackson, but like to get back to like how we get it done.
Okay.
Correct. And that's the point that I want to speak to. And so I have two things. The commissioner, our responsibility is to make sure that we are good stewards of the commission's budget, right, and that we are serving the best interest of the community and the commission. So in our rules, it very clearly lays out the process for expenditures that are greater than $10,000 and greater than $1,000. But for items that are whether they're budgeted or not, that if they're greater than $10,000, the commission does need to go to the Budget and Grants Committee, be voted and approved by the Budget and Grants Committee, and then be brought to the full commission where it is then approved by the full commission. My first concern with what is happening right now is that it is not following that procedure and that it has not been approved by the Budget and Grants Committee. So I am not in favor of this because it needs to follow the process laid out in our rules. And so I think that there's that piece. The second piece is I do not disagree with the fact that we need more support, and I do not disagree with the numerous qualifications and all that Sergeant Jackson has given this commission. However, when we are talking about a contract that is an auto-renewing contract every 8 weeks for $10,000, this is a very large expense, and I would say that in my general discussion of it, which I think is in some ways moot because I am concerned about this from a procedural standpoint, I think that a contract of this size and of this seriousness needs to go to an RFP process. And I would hope that Sergeant Jackson would participate in the RFP process because we have to be sound stewards of the commission's resources. And I think that we have our due diligence, we have to do a due diligence to make sure that we are selecting the best people for the job. And that is not a knock on Sergeant Jackson. I believe he is highly qualified, and I think he will be highly competitive for that bid. But I think that with a contract of this type that auto-renews, that is a significant expense for the commission, and that is so integral to the functioning of the commission, as has been explained by our executive director. To do this without, it would be like hiring somebody without a job interview. And so that is that procedurally, I think this needs to go back, follow the procedures laid out in our rule, and then my personal opinion is that I want to see this go to an RFP, and I think that, and it is not a knock on Sergeant Jackson.
And through the chair.
I think that's Commissioner Nelson, because there's the commissioners waiting. Commissioner Nelson, Commissioner Umison, and then Commissioner Zayed.
I'm going to, my point of order is strictly on whether, because I want to make sure it was clear to everybody that the director is the person who does hiring and contracting for this organization. So having said that, I second the motion that's been made by Commissioner Miller. And I believe that and if there's unreadiness, then, you can do that before we vote. But it is clear that this thing is being clouded. I haven't figured out why. And I'm not throwing any aspersions at anybody. But if the director says, this gentleman, and we already know his qualifications, so we don't need to talk about the RFP. We know his qualifications. Everybody in the room knows his qualifications. In fact, he was, as has been clearly stated, he was part of the originators. He has previously sat on the commission. He knows the CPPA better than everybody in this room. So if the executive needs somebody to lean on, the expertise is unquestionably that he's qualified. There was a meeting yesterday that I happened to sit in on inadvertently because I was coming to take care of my computer, where they discussed this issue. It came out of that committee. All these questions were discussed about him, and I know that there was the only confusion I had was when I talked to Andre Reynolds at one time, there was one amount that had to be bid, and then now there's another amount. So in any event, what he's being paid is consistent with whichever amount. So I repeat that I second the motion of Commissioner Miller. Give our director what she needs so she can get on with it, and all these other side issues. And I'm mature enough to know when I hear side issues. I'm mature enough to know. And we've never put a director, now we have a director, we want to handcuff the director. It makes absolutely no sense. So that's my second.
Point of order on the rule.
Yeah, I don't know what's being seconded.
I second the motion by Commissioner Miller.
That needs to be repeated. So how you move a motion is,
Okay.
a motion is stated, it gets a second,
Oh, I remember what she
That's
said.
restated by the chair running the meeting, and then there's discussion on it.
I
So
remember.
we haven't
We've had our
discussed
discussion.
a pending
Okay.
motion.
I move that the CPC approve and ratify the professional consulting service agreement between the commission and Richard Jackson, subject matter expert in policing practices, for an initial engagement period of 8 weeks at a total compensation of $10,000 with automatic renewal upon satisfactory reporting of the scope of work to the commission, effective upon passage of this motion.
Second.
Point of order, based on our rules, 2, expenditure approval and budget oversight, I move that this motion is moved back into the Budget and Grants Committee.
So you can't make a motion with, now there's a pending motion, and then we need to discuss that, and it gets voted up or down. Or during discussion, if you want to propose to the bringer of the motion an amendment. But you have to, if the motion's stated, and let us know when to discuss it.
To the chair, Commissioner Coleman. When we had our last month meeting, this was brought to the body to vote. And Commissioner Umason put a pin in it because he said there was some a text or something from Smoop, the law. So at that point, we never finished that. So this has been going on since last month. So could you give me some clarity on that? Because it was brought to the committee last month.
That's what I personally am confused about, because I don't understand what has come out of committee or what we voted on at our last full commission meeting. That's what I was trying to get clarity on before, because I don't remember the contract we received this morning ever going up for a vote, ever. I got it this morning and I reviewed it, but I don't recall that happening. I don't know that.
And through the chair.
I guess from a rules perspective, I will say but we might have followed this, honestly, but this is what I'm unclear about. It says any purchase above $10,000 requires a proposal be given to the commission, presented at a budget committee public meeting and approved by the committee and subsequently approved by the full commission. So I think we're just trying to ask, if all that's followed, then we have a pending motion and we vote on it. If it's not, then I would suggest it goes to budgets and we follow that.
So even if the amount changed, it needs to go back to budget, even though I'm trying to ratify it now?
Yes. What are we ratifying?
So, through the chair, per AD Scott, our in-house counsel, we can vote it down and vote it right back up, right now. We can vote the old contract down and we can vote the new contract up and vote on it. You can do that.
Okay, so okay. First step is the Budget and Grants Committee. Commissioner Coleman just read that rule. Her question was, what she stated was that if this process is being followed properly, then we can vote on the motion. But if that has not happened, then it has to go back to the Budget and Grants Committee and then come back to the full commission. Now, if this is urgent and we want to support doing this, we could call a special meeting once they have a meeting. They can call a quick meeting, we would call another meeting to pass it through. But it has to go first through Budget and Grants, which has not been done, before we can actually vote on it. And I think no one's saying anything about not supporting Richard Jackson. No, that's not the issue here. The issue is that it has not gone through the proper procedures. And that's all this is about.
Chair,
Yes.
what did we vote on last month regarding Richard Jackson? Because it was brought to the floor last month. So what did we vote on regarding Richard Jackson? Because budget brought it to us last month.
We did not vote to pass the contract. Do you want to answer that?
I'd say I didn't bring a motion forward for that. I think it just comes down to if commissioners receive this contract, that one that is for a consultant, that we wouldn't really have a say in how they operate. I think it does need a full review. If commissioners receive the contract today, they should give substantial time to at least review the contract in full, and it should go through the Budget and Grants. But we can rectify it. Again, I have no issue with Richard Jackson's experience either. It just has to go through budget and grants, and if people receive a contract today.
Through the chair,
And it
the
needs to be,
contract, this is-
and I'm not finished yet, and so it just needs to be reviewed. Now you
The
can go.
contract is the exact same contract that you had for a whole month. The only thing that has changed is what you asked for. Is what,
Yeah, so, I mean-
everyone's tone is changing, because this is,
Let's just bring like so.
No,
you know,
let's do
this is a bit much. It's been
Let's
2
order,
months.
okay.
We would just like to make sure of that.
Indeed.
We would like to do
Indeed.
that
But we-
ourselves.
but we-
We
Indeed.
cannot ask for the officers to follow rules, to follow laws, to follow process and procedure, and then the commission not do that ourselves. We cannot do
I mean,
that. So
that's-
we need to follow our rules, follow our
Absolutely.
procedures. So
I
can
agree.
can you please give the commission time to review the contract that was sent to us today? And then once we review that, then it can go, take the proper
Through the-
procedures and
through
go
the
to the,
chair.
I'm talking, please, I'm talking and I'm not done. And then it will go to our Budgets and Grants Committee as it states in the rules, and they
Through
will,
the chair.
they will discuss that, and then
The
once they
new
discuss that,
addition
if
is
it
what
comes
you
out.
asked to
and
be
then
put
we-
in.
Can we review that? Can we look for ourselves?
It's what you asked to
Can
be
we
put
get an
in.
Okay,
opportunity
so
to look for
what I
ourselves?
want to say is, we received an email this morning that said revised. And so I don't know what was revised. I didn't have time to read it. I'm just asking that I can read what the contract actually
At the end
says
of
so
the
I
day,
can
these
feel comfortable
requests-
voting for it.
There is a pending motion, so if you want to just vote, so, I mean.
We can just vote yes or no.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you would just take these things into consideration for your vote, because the motion belongs to the body now, so they have to either retract it or we vote it down.
I mean, yeah, 'cause if you don't agree with it, just vote no.
I think the chair, I seconded, I think the chair has made a valid point. We have an executive director. We went through a year. I've been on this commission for going on almost 3 years. We've never had an executive director between December and February, which means we've never been able to work for 3 months, 6 months out of the 2 years I've been here. We got a director. We're stymieing her. Not we aren't, but there's something is in the mix here, and it's not what's being stated. This had nothing to do with the budget, because I was here at the meeting yesterday with Commissioner Omerson, Commissioner Mason, and at least one other person, and they talked about this. They talked about this issue, and it was a repeat. So if we're going to be honest with ourselves, if we're going to be intellectually and have some integrity about ourselves, whatever it is that is holding this up, you need to put it on the table. Now, if that means if we have to table it for this meeting to another meeting, between now and the time we come back, whatever issues you got, and that thing about she needs to hold her tone while I heard the commissioner base her out, is it because she's a woman? I don't think so. But we did not treat any previous executive director in that manner, and we never raised our voices at either Goodrich, or Goodwin, or whatever his name was, or Alex. We never did that. And why did it happen tonight? There's a logical reason. I'm not going to press it, but there's a reason that happened tonight. All she's trying to do is get her staff person on board, her consultant on board, and for some reason, and it's either the budget, it's either the amount's too little, the amount's not enough. I will move because I think there's some strife here that needs to be resolved between now and the next meeting, so she can get her staff person on here. I will move to table this. Not because I don't think it should pass, but I think there's some stuff in the mix, and I'm glad community is here so they can engage in this discussion. So I'll move, with permission, I'll ask Commissioner Miller.
I strike down my motion to,
You understand by your motion?
I'll
All right,
strike-
then,
yeah.
you want to do what?
put a pen in it.
Okay, I move to table this
Table it.
to next, till, so that, and I don't know why budget has to do with it, but let's table it so that, until a special meeting,
A special meeting.
to a special
She's
meeting.
withdrawn her motion.
Yeah, the motion's
Yeah, I
withdrawn.
move to table.
I'm tabling it.
You have to withdraw, you can't table.
Okay, I'll
Table
withdraw it.
requires a
No,
vote.
I just wanted to say, I genuinely, truly do not understand any side things or agendas and am surely just coming from a rules perspective. I don't know, I guess it seems like there's some underlying things we're not all aware of, and I just wanted to push back on that because me reading out the rules, I just did not want to be perceived as trying to like undermine anything, or yeah, like I support Shelley, I support Richard Jackson. As the rules chair, I have to tell us what our rules are.
I would say same. I support the effective functioning of the commission. I think Richard Jackson, I don't have anything against him. He is definitely qualified. He's definitely helped the commission a lot, so it's not against him personally. It's strictly a procedural issue.
Through the chair, can I ask that we move along? It is 8:15, and I have much things to get through my own since we're not going to do anything today.
Did you want to say something? Okay, we're going to move on to the training committee update report given by Commissioner Antea Miller.
All right, everyone. So we do have a lot on the table coming from the training committee. First off, I want to let everyone know that the proposed framework for us for the training review is changing. So I'm passing down a little visual process flow so we can understand that. So basically, the shift of the focus training review from simple approval and attendance tracking is ongoing assessment, effectiveness, and accountability. Under the new process, the training committee will evaluate both the CDP policies and the training programs independently, recognizing that strong policies require effective training and effective training requires strong policies. The framework emphasizes the practical skills development through scenario-based learning, role-play exercises, and real-world application rather than the lecture-only instruction. There are also going to be encouragement from the greater of the community, which involves the development and the review, which includes the input of the community stakeholders, individuals with disabilities, mental health advocates, LGBTQ plus communities, immigrant and refugee communities, and others impacted by the police. So this framework establishes an annual assessment cycle requiring the training committee to conduct formal reviews, prepare written assessments, reports, and presented findings to the full commission, and make recommendations for the improvement. So I'm going to send everyone this, but you have the flow chart. It's much more, but for time's sake, because we have 4 motions to get through. So I was sent everyone, when was this? Over a month ago, all the trainings that need to be reviewed for this month, for this full commission meeting. On behalf of the training committee, I want to bring forward the 3 training recommendations for the commission consideration for approval of the 26th training assessment. Recognizing and responding effectively to traumatized youth, that we had a demonstration. The 2026 training needs assessment, and then the TASER 10 instructor certification training. I move that the CPC approve the 2026 training assessment as recommended by the training committee.
Second.
Oh. Is there any discussion?
So, to the chair, to Commissioner Miller, were there specific things that did change in some of this, or like just high level? I feel like I've read through them.
No, they were just minor changes, yeah.
Minor changes, okay.
Yes, look like we're approving the same manual, but they're implementing, changes and review, things that they've seen that need to be changed along the way. And it's the updates of what we give.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Maya, did you have anything? No? Okay. All right, so with no more discussion, we're going to call the vote. Co-Chair Adams?
Aye.
Commissioner Chura?
Aye.
Commissioner Coleman?
Aye.
Commissioner Kincaid?
Aye.
Commissioner Mason?
Aye.
Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Commissioner Marrero Benito?
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson?
Aye.
Commissioner Umelson?
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer?
Aye.
And I vote yes.
All right, the next training is going to be when Sergeant Matt Brown came in, so we already know what that is, so I'm just going to put that motion forward. I move that the CBC approve the CDP training titled Recognizing and Responding Effectively to Traumatized Youth as recommended by the training committee.
Second.
Any discussion? If none, we'll call the vote. Co-Chair Adams?
Aye. Aye.
Commissioner Chura?
Aye.
Commissioner Coleman?
Aye.
Commissioner Kincaid? Aye. Commissioner Mason?
Aye.
Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Commissioner Marrero Benito?
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson?
Aye.
Commissioner Umelson?
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer?
Aye.
And I vote yes, that passes.
All right, so our last motion for the trainings is that the TASER 10 training, I'm just going to briefly, this training provides instructors with knowledge, skills, and safety protocols, legal considerations, and practical application techniques necessary to effectively train the CDP personnel on the TASER 10 conducted energy weapon system. So now I want to move this motion forward by the CPC to approve the TASER 10 instructor certification training as recommended by the training committee.
Second.
Any discussion? I'll call the vote. Co-Chair Adams?
Aye.
Commissioner Chura?
Aye.
Commissioner Coleman?
Aye.
Commissioner Kincaid?
Aye.
Commissioner Mason?
Aye.
Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Commissioner Marrero Benito?
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson?
Aye.
Commissioner Umelson?
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer?
Aye.
And I vote yes, that passes.
All right, we have one more thing on the table I want to bring from the training committee. I did speak of it in our training committee meeting that we just had, our past one. I want to move that the training committee support and advance the work of the evaluation and the promotions committee regarding the commander promotions review process until the time of the evaluation of the process committee is reconstituted or otherwise directed by the commission, with all recommendations subject to full commission consideration and approval.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, to the chair, to Commissioner Miller. So do this mean that you're going to take over the commander and promotion and that the co-chair will not be doing the commander and evaluations no more because they were supposed to do it?
We all three were working together.
So
Yeah,
what I'm
that's the
proposing is that the training committee gets this on track until that committee is back up and funded, running. So not sure if they're still on the committee. I don't know if they were just sitting there or on the committee. You see what I'm saying?
So my comment is to the two co-chairs. You all had the commander's promotion and evaluation. At what point and where are you all at the status of this committee?
I'm almost done with the rubric.
So you'll be working with Miller, or is this going to be a joint effort, or what is this going to be?
I was going to finish the draft and then send it to her and Sharina, and I think Mike Nelson's on that committee as well.
And I also reached out to the PAT team because I wanted them to assist us with the community engagement part. And we have been working on scheduling a meeting, but Dr. Anderson has been doing a lot of traveling this month, so it kind of pushed that back a little bit. But I saw her yesterday at the status conference, and she sent me over availability. So we're working on that part as well.
So can you give us a timeline as to when will this be done? At least we'll see a draft of it.
Yeah, so what we could do is Co-Chair Adams, myself, and Commissioner Miller can arrange to meet, develop that timeline, and get that to you guys.
So are we going to vote or what are we doing?
Do you think it's still necessary?
It was a second. I would still like it to move the way I proposed.
You can move it.
I moved the previous question.
I guess we vote.
Okay. Commissioner Adams?
Aye.
Hold on. No, I think it should be this one. That's the original. Commissioner Chura? Aye. Commissioner Coleman?
Aye.
Commissioner Kincaid?
Aye.
Commissioner Mason?
Aye.
Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Commissioner Marrero Benito?
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson?
Aye.
Commissioner Umelson?
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer?
Aye.
And I vote yes. That passes.
Thank you. That concludes my report. Thank you.
All right. So we are at the time where second public comment. We have 5 minutes left, so that leaves us time for about one public comment. And I don't think it's fair if every single person wants to make a public comment and we only let one person. So I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much.
I don't know what that, I don't know what,
I'm gonna get this.
I don't know.
But them two co-chairs, by them talking about rules and regulations,